In today's show, a new Gaza ceasefire proposal takes center stage. Dangerous surf from Imelda and Humberto pounds the coast, and October baseball officially begins. Plus, we'll cover President Trump's warning for New York City, a stowaway tragedy in Charlotte, and the sticker shock of turning visitors away from Las Vegas. And which fruit inspired the name of the garnet gemstone? That's today's trivia question. It's Tuesday, September 30th. This is the Flyover Podcast. Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts. Happy Tuesday and welcome to the Flyover Podcast. I'm your weekday host, Ayla Brown. Before we jump into today's headlines, I want to say a huge thank you. Over the past week, the Flyover hit record highs in views, downloads, and listens, and it's all because of you. I'll share a little more news about what's next for the Flyover at the end. But for now, let's take off with the biggest stories of the day. Let's start with a big development on the world stage. President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu unveiled a joint plan to end the Gaza war. The 20-point proposal calls for Hamas to agree to a ceasefire and release all hostages within 72 hours of Israel signing on. The plan includes a temporary board of peace chaired by Trump and joined by former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair to oversee Gaza's governance and reconstruction. Israeli withdrawal would hinge on Hamas disarming, which remains the biggest sticking point. Netanyahu even apologized to Qatar's leader for a recent Israeli strike in Doha that killed a Qatari serviceman, a rare move meant to smooth regional tensions. According to the BBC, the proposal is already drawing cautious praise from European diplomats who see it as the most detailed U.S. peace effort since the conflict began. The Palestinian Authority has welcomed the idea and promised reforms, while Hamas says it's reviewing the plan. Turning to the weather, two powerful storms are stirring up the Atlantic. Tropical storm Imelda is expected to strengthen into a hurricane on Tuesday before heading out to sea, but it's already kicking up dangerous surf and rip currents from Florida through the Carolinas. Florida officials say one man has died in a rip current. Meanwhile, Hurricane Humberto, a Category 4 storm near Bermuda, is also sending heavy swells toward the U.S. coast, creating hazardous beach conditions from Florida all the way up to Virginia. And baseball fans, the postseason starts today with 4 wild card matchups, highlighted by a primetime showdown between the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. What a rivalry. The New York Mets, who once had the best record in baseball, missed the playoffs after a late season collapse. Owner Steve Cohen issued an apology to the fans. The defending champion Los Angeles Dodgers opened their title against the Cincinnati Reds tonight. Winners of these best of 3 series will move on to the divisional round this weekend, with the World Series set to begin October 24th. Here are your top political headlines. A key White House meeting aimed at preventing a government shutdown ended in finger-pointing. Democrats and Republicans left the Monday sit-down blaming each other, with Vice President J.D. Vance saying, quote, "I think we're headed into a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing." Funding runs out at midnight, and analysts note that the last major shutdown in 2019 cost the U.S. economy an estimated $11 billion. Meanwhile, President Trump plans to join an unusual gathering of America's top brass today. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has called hundreds of generals and admirals to Virginia to talk about restoring what he calls the warrior ethos in the military. The Pentagon says this type of all-hands meeting hasn't been held in years, and insiders are watching closely for any big policy announcements. There's also a new FBI headline. The Bureau has reportedly opened an internal investigation into claims that under former Director James Comey, agents once tried a so-called honeypot tactic, sending female undercover agents to romantically approach Trump campaign staff back in 2016. Legal experts say proving that allegation would be tricky, but it adds another twist to long-running debates over political bias inside the FBI. And out west, Oregon and the city of Portland are pushing back on federal deployments. They've filed a lawsuit to block the Trump administration from sending National Guard troops into the city, arguing the move is unlawful. The case echoes earlier court battles during the 2020 protests when judges often limited the federal government's ability to use force in Portland. Here are some podcast extra stories. Let's start in New York City, where President Donald Trump is wading into the mayor's race. Trump called Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani a self-proclaimed communist and warned he'd block federal funds to the city if Mamdani wins in November. Mamdani, who identifies as a Democratic socialist, recently defeated former Governor Andrew Cuomo in the Democratic primary. Cuomo is now running as an independent just a day after current Mayor Eric Adams suspended his re-election campaign, shaking up the race. In Charlotte, a grim discovery on Sunday morning. Maintenance crews at Charlotte Douglas International Airport found a dead stowaway in the landing gear of an American Airlines jet that had just arrived from Europe. Police say the individual died during the flight, which experts know is tragically common because temperatures plummet and oxygen levels drop to near zero in a plane's wheel well. And out west, Las Vegas is feeling the pinch as tourists complain about sky-high prices. Visitors told Fox News they paid $14 for a coffee, $30 for a cocktail, and even faced ATM fees up to $95. The city is facing and seeing fewer visitors this year, with some travelers saying the soaring costs are making them think twice about a return trip. I don't blame them. Still to come, a new cannabis-based drug shows big promise for easing chronic back pain without the risk of opioids. Plus, Dolly Parton delays her Vegas comeback. And a cruise card debate has the internet divided, and maybe the flyover divided as well. We'll find out. Thanks to our sponsor, Nimi Skincare. For everyone asking how I keep my skin fresh and glowing, even after long nights and early mornings, the answer is Nimi Skincare. Their gentle, powerful daily cleanser, Nimi Clean, is the foundation of my routine. It removes makeup, dirt, and oil without stripping, so my skin stays soft, hydrated, and bright. I follow it with Nimi's 3-step anti-aging routine, which is clean, treat, and moisturize, clinically backed to restore the skin barrier, boost collagen, reduce fine lines, lock in moisture, and brighten for a healthy glow. Proudly American-made, Nimi rivals top international brands while staying true to values of faith, family, and freedom. Right now, Flyover listeners get 15% off with the code FLYOVER at checkout. Visit NimiSkincare.com, use code FLYOVER, and thank me later. All the information can be found in the show notes below. In finance, big news in the gaming world. Electronic Arts, the company behind Madden NFL, The Sims, and FIFA, is being bought for a staggering $55 billion by a group of private equity firms. If the deal closes, analysts say it would be the largest leveraged buyout ever for a video game company, easily topping Microsoft's 2022 purchase of Activision Blizzard. Switching to fast food, McDonald's is dusting off a fan favorite. After a decade away, the Monopoly game is coming back, this time with a twist. Players can collect the classic peel-off pieces on food packaging and also use the McDonald's app for digital game play, with prizes ranging from free fries all the way up to $1 million cash payout. Learn how to play the game in the show notes below. And in the airline industry, Germany's Lufthansa announced it will cut about 4,000 administrative jobs. The company says the move is part of a larger restructuring that leans heavily on automation, digitization, and AI to streamline operations and cut costs, something many major airline carriers are exploring as fuel prices stay high and competition heats up. Here's your stock market update from yesterday. The Nasdaq gained 0.48%, the S&P 500 added 0.26%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average inched up 0.15%. In commodities, Bitcoin climbed 2.01% and gold jumped 2.32% to $3,862 per ounce. Big mover of the day, Beyond Meat. It plunged over 36% after announcing a major debt restructuring plan that will dilute shareholders' stakes. In sports, let's kick things off with college football. Ole Miss made the biggest jump in this week's AP Top 25, leaping 9 spots to number 4 after their win over LSU. On the flip side, Florida State tumbled 10 places to number 18 after a tough loss to Virginia. According to the AP, it's one of the largest single-week drops of the season. Over to golf, U.S. Ryder Cup captain Keegan Bradley is calling for an end to the tournament's long-standing envelope rule. That's the rule that kept American golfer Harris English from playing after Norway's Victor Hovland got hurt, because each captain submits a sealed name to replace an injured player, and only one side can use it. European captain Luke Donald defended the tradition, saying simply, quote, "The rule is the rule." And in the NFL, Green Bay Packers edge rusher Micah Parsons didn't hold back after Sunday night's 40-40 tie with his old team, the Dallas Cowboys. He said the defense has to be better, reminding reporters he'd already told the team that if the offense scores 20 or more, quote, "we should win." Maybe next time. In science and technology, scientists have turned ancient history into sound. Using satellite data, they created an eerie soundtrack of Earth's magnetic field reversal from 41,000 years ago. And listeners say it plays like the score to a deep space sci-fi thriller. By the way, you can listen to the track in the show notes. It is pretty eerie. In medical news, researchers announced that a new marijuana-derived drug cut chronic lower back pain in a large study while improving sleep and mobility. Doctors are calling it promising because it avoids the addiction risks that come with opioids. And over in Shanghai, a robotics company just debuted an agile humanoid robot that can do cartwheels and spins. That's more than I can do. The design is open source, meaning developers around the world can collaborate to make robots more capable and maybe a little more entertaining than ever before. Let's wrap things up with a few shorter headlines that we want you to know about today. Country legend Dolly Parton is pressing pause on her December 2025 Las Vegas residency. She says she needs time for a few procedures and proper recovery, so the Caesars Palace shows are now pushed to September of 2026. She's not revealed which type of procedure she's getting. Meanwhile, J.K. Rowling fired back at Emma Watson after Watson said she'd like to reconcile despite past criticism of Rowling's views on transgender issues. Rowling accused Watson of misunderstanding women's rights because of her fame and privilege. In the Himalayas, a Polish mountaineer just made history. He's the first person to summit and ski down Mount Everest without supplemental oxygen, spending 16 hours above 8,000 meters before making the daring descent. And in Massachusetts, an anti-ICE protest took an unexpected turn when a woman confronting agents forgot to put her SUV in park, sending the vehicle rolling straight into a lake while cameras were rolling. You can see the video of the moment in today's show notes. And a viral Reddit thread is sparking debate on cruise etiquette. The post called out Royal Caribbean passengers for tucking their Sea Pass cards into their bras, raising questions about hygiene and practicality. Hundreds of commenters jumped in. Some say it's gross. Others swear it's the easiest way to keep the card handy when you're in a swimsuit. So let's have our own conversation in the comments section. Do you think it is gross or not to keep a Sea Pass in your bra? I personally don't think it's gross. People's hands are probably more disgusting than someone's chest. But hey, I would love to know what you think. The comments section is always open. Here are the results of yesterday's poll question. Do you use subtitles when watching TV shows or movies? 38% said no, 37% said yes, and 25% said sometimes. Thank you so much to everyone who voted. Here's the poll question for today. If your health and safety were assured, okay, so don't worry, which feat would you want to accomplish? Would you summit Mount Everest? Walk on the moon, skydive from a plane, dive to the Titanic wreck, fly on a fighter jet, other, and you can reply and tell us in the comments section, or I'd rather read the Flyover in bed. I love that last option. I don't want to do any of these things, okay? I did skydive out of a plane though, and it was really fun, but all of the other things are just not my thing. So I'm going to choose other, and this is what I would like to do. I would love to be in a race car during a NASCAR race, and I usually hate driving in fast cars, but if I were in one with a professional and no chance of getting hurt, I would love to feel the adrenaline rush of being in a fast car like that. I will read the answers in tomorrow's show though, and I can't wait. Just vote in the show notes below. In today's trivia, which fruit inspired the name of the garnet gemstone? Well, the garnet was named after the pomegranate fruit. The word garnet comes from the 14th century Middle English word granatum, which means dark red, and it's derived from Latin granatum, okay, which means seed, as the gemstone also bears resemblance to the seeds of the pomegranate. Now you know. That is it for today's Flyover. Before we sign off, a quick update on our community investment drive. When we launched this campaign, the goal was to reach 50% of our funding by the end of Q3, and the deadline is tomorrow. We're currently at 42% with more than 1,350 readers turned investors already helping raise $2.1 million. Your support has fueled huge growth, nearly 3 million readers nationwide, big gains in Texas and Florida, and record-breaking listens for us here at the Flyover podcast. Next up are our first ever Flyover app. Yes, and text alerts. Yes, investments start at just $750 or $2 a share, and every dollar goes to expanding fact-first news into more states. If you want to help us cross the finish line, now is the time. Go to invest.jointheflyover.com. Once again, that's invest.jointheflyover.com. I'll be back tomorrow with more headlines. Thank you so much for flying with us.